She went to steal food from the trash, but ended up stealing the mansion owner's heart. Olivia clutched the last piece of stale bread she'd found in the mansion's trash when she heard footsteps approaching through the garden. Her stomach had been aching for 2 days, and that soggy hard bread would be her only meal. "What are you doing here?" The deep voice made her jump in fright. She turned quickly, hiding the bread behind her back. A tall man, around 40, watched her with a mix of surprise and indignation. His dark hair was perfectly combed, and he wore a white dress shirt that cost more than she earned in 3 months when she still had a job. I wasn't doing anything wrong," murmured Olivia, her blue eyes glistening with tears she refused to shed. "You were going through my trash," he said, crossing his arms. "That's trespassing." Olivia felt her heart race. Her grey blouse was dirty and torn in places, her blonde hair tousled by the cold dawn wind. She knew how she must look to him, a desperate woman rummaging through a rich man's garbage. "Please, sir." Her voice came out weaker than she intended. "I just needed some food. I won't bother you again." The man, whom she didn't yet know was named Michael Anderson, studied her face for a few seconds. There was something about this young woman that intrigued him. It wasn't just desperation he saw in her eyes, but a wounded dignity he recognized. "How long has it been since you ate?" he asked, his voice softening slightly. Olivia hesitated. The truth was too humiliating to admit to a stranger, especially a man who clearly had everything she'd lost. "It's none of your business," she replied, trying to sound firmer than she felt. Michael noticed her trembling hands, the pallor of her face. The answer wasn't hard to guess. He sighed, remembering when his own family had faced hardships many years ago. "Come inside," he said, nodding toward the house. "What?" "You heard me. Come in. I'll make you something to eat." Olivia took a step back, wary. In her experience, when rich men offered help to desperate women, they always expected something in return. And she wasn't willing to pay that price, no matter how hungry she was. "No, thank you. I'll leave." She turned to go, but stumbled on her weak legs. Michael instinctively reached out to steady her, gently holding her elbow. "You can barely stand," he said. "When was the last time you had a proper meal?" His touch was gentle, not threatening as she'd expected. Olivia looked into his eyes and saw something she hadn't anticipated: genuine compassion. 3 days, she finally admitted. Michael felt a pang in his chest. 3 days without food. How did someone reach this point in a city like New York? "Come," he said more firmly this time. "I'm not asking, I'm insisting. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing." Olivia let him guide her to the mansion's kitchen, her bare feet stepping on the cold marble. The house was even more impressive inside than she'd imagined. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling, expensive paintings decorated the walls, and fine wooden furniture filled every room. The kitchen was bigger than the apartment she'd lived in before losing her job. Michael gestured to a padded chair by the granite counter and began preparing something on the industrial stove. "What's your name?" he asked, cracking eggs into a pan. "Olivia," she answered quietly, still reluctant to trust this stranger. "I'm Michael. This is my home." She looked around again, noticing the expensive appliances, the pantry stocked with food she didn't even know existed. The difference between their worlds was staggering. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. Michael paused what he was doing. It was a fair question. Why was he helping a complete stranger he'd found rummaging through his trash? "Because I've been in a similar situation," he said, going back to stirring the eggs in the pan. "And because no one should go hungry when there's food to spare." Olivia studied his profile as he cooked. There were emotional scars on that man, she could tell. Wealth wasn't the only thing that defined him. When he set the plate in front of her, she had to restrain herself from devouring it all at once. Scrambled eggs, toast, bacon, fresh fruit. It was more food than she'd seen in weeks. "Take it slow," Michael advised, sitting across the counter. "You'll feel sick if you eat too fast." She nodded, forcing herself to chew slowly. The taste was better than anything she remembered having. "Where do you live?" he asked. Olivia stopped chewing. The truth was, she had nowhere to live. She'd been evicted from her tiny apartment 3 weeks ago and had been sleeping on park benches or storefronts when she could. "Nowhere," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Michael felt his stomach tighten. A young woman alone on the streets, starving. How many others were in the same situation while he wasted food every day? "What happened?" he asked gently. Olivia closed her eyes, remembering the chain of events that had brought her here. Losing her receptionist job when the company shut down, burning through all her savings trying to stay afloat, getting evicted when she couldn't pay rent anymore, the humiliation of asking acquaintances for help, only for them to distance themselves when they realized how desperate she truly was. "Life happened," she said simply. Michael understood she didn't want to go into details. He respected that. Everyone had a right to their secrets and dignity, even when they'd lost everything else. "You can take a shower if you'd like," he offered, "and I can lend you some of my sister's clothes. She left a few things here." Olivia looked at him with renewed suspicion. Now came the part where he'd reveal his true intentions. "In exchange for what?" she asked bluntly. Michael seemed genuinely surprised by the question. "In exchange for nothing. It's just an offer. Men like you don't do anything for free. Men like me? Rich, powerful. You always want something." Michael leaned back in his chair, processing her words. It was true that his experience with women in his social circle had been complicated. Many approached him only interested in his money, but this young woman was clearly desperate and yet questioning his motives. There was integrity in her, even at her lowest point. "You're right to be cautious," he finally said, "but I promise I want nothing except to help someone in need." Olivia studied his face, searching for signs of deceit. His eyes were sincere, his posture relaxed. Maybe he really was different. "All right," she said, "but I won't stay here longer than necessary." Michael nodded in understanding. Trust was something earned, not demanded. He led her to one of the guest rooms, which was larger and more luxurious than any place she'd ever slept. The king-sized bed was covered in sheets that looked like they cost more than her previous monthly salary. "The bathroom's right there," he pointed. "Towels are in the cabinet. I'll leave some clothes on the bed." After he left, Olivia walked to the bathroom and saw herself in the mirror for the first time in days. The reflection staring back at her was frightening. Her blonde hair was tangled and dirty, her face thin and pale, her clothes filthy and torn. She looked like a completely different person from the confident young woman she had been just a few months ago. The hot shower was a blessing. She let the water wash away, not just the grime, but also some of the pain and humiliation she carried. When she stepped out, she found clean clothes laid out on the bed, a pair of jeans that looked new, and a light blue cotton blouse. The clothes fit perfectly, which made her wonder what kind of woman Michael's sister was. When she went downstairs, she found him in the living room reading what appeared to be work documents. "Better?" he asked, looking up. "Much better," she admitted. "Thank you." It was getting dark, and Olivia knew she needed to leave. She couldn't get used to this kindness, not when her real life was waiting for her out there on the cold streets. "I should go," she said. "Where to?" The question caught her off guard. Where, really? To another park bench? To dig through more trash tomorrow? I'll find a place." "It's dangerous for you to be on the street," Michael said, standing up. "Especially at night. I can take care of myself." "I'm sure you can. But why should you have to?" Olivia didn't have a good answer for that. Why should she have to sleep on the street when there was a comfortable bed right here? Out of pride, fear. "Because I don't know you," she finally said, "and people like you don't help people like me without wanting something in return." Michael walked to the window, looking out at the well-kept garden of his property. He understood her resistance more than she realized. "When I was 16, he began, still facing away, "my father lost his job. We were middle class, nothing special, but we had a decent life. Suddenly we had nothing. We spent months living off the kindness of relatives who treated us like a burden." He turned to her, and Olivia saw vulnerability in his eyes. I promised myself that if I ever had the means, I'd help people going through what I went through, not out of pity, but because I know how humiliating it is to depend on strangers' kindness. How did you get out of that situation? Olivia asked, genuinely curious. Work. A lot of work. I started by selling candy at school, then got a part-time job at an office, studied at night, got a degree in business, started my own company. And your family? A shadow crossed Michael's face. My father never recovered from the humiliation. He gave up fighting. My mother did what she could, but it wasn't enough. By the time I finally had financial stability, it was too late to help them. Olivia felt a tightness in her chest. There was so much pain in those words, so much regret. I'm sorry, she said softly. That's why I'm offering to help you, he continued. Not because I pity you, but because I understand, and because maybe there's still time to make a difference for someone. Silence stretched between them for a few minutes. Olivia processed his words, trying to decide if she could trust this offer. If I stayed, she said carefully, it would just be for one night, and I'd pay you back once I found work. You can stay as long as you need, Michael replied, and you don't owe me anything. I always pay my debts. Michael smiled for the first time since they'd met. There was pride and determination in this young woman, qualities he admired. Then we'll do it this way, he said. You can stay here until you get back on your feet. In return, you help me with some work around the house. Nothing heavy, just organizing, maybe a little gardening. It's a work agreement, not charity. Olivia considered the offer. It was dignified, fair. She would be earning her stay, not receiving charity. All right, she finally said, but only until I find something better. Of course, Michael agreed, though part of him was already expecting her to change her mind. That first night in the mansion, Olivia barely slept. The bed was too comfortable, the silence too strange after weeks of sleeping in noisy places. But more than that, she was confused about Michael. He seemed genuine, but she had learned the hard way that appearances could be deceiving. The next morning, she woke up early and went down to the kitchen, determined to start earning her keep right away. Michael was already there, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper. Good morning, he said. Did you sleep well? Yes, thank you. What would you like me to do today? Michael seemed surprised by her eagerness to start working. No need to rush. Have breakfast first. I'd rather get to work, she insisted. I don't like owing favors. He studied her determined face and nodded. All right. The library needs organizing. The books are all out of order. The library was an impressive room with floor-to-ceiling shelves filled with books of every genre. Olivia was amazed. She had always loved reading, but in recent months, she hadn't had access to books. You can sort them by author or subject, whichever you prefer, Michael said. No rush. Olivia spent the entire day in the library, not just organizing the books, but also losing herself in some of the titles she found. Michael stopped by a few times to check if she needed anything, and each time he was impressed by her dedication. By the end of the day, the library was impeccably organized. Michael was genuinely impressed. You did an amazing job, he said. Far better than I ever imagined possible. Olivia felt a warmth of satisfaction she hadn't experienced in months. It felt good to be useful again, productive. I enjoy working with books, she admitted. It's what I used to do before everything went wrong. Did you work in a library? In a small bookstore. I was in charge of organizing inventory and helping customers find what they were looking for. It was a simple job, but I loved it. What happened to the bookstore? Olivia's face darkened. The owner decided it was more profitable to sell the space to a fast food chain. He let all the staff go overnight. Michael felt anger at how she'd been treated. People like her, hard-working and dedicated, deserved better. Have you ever thought about opening your own bookstore? Olivia laughed bitterly. With what money? I could barely pay my rent working for others. There's funding, investors. For someone like me. No guarantees, no wealthy family to back me up. You live in a different world than I do, Michael. He realized he'd touched a nerve. The gap between their worlds really was vast, and it was easy for him to talk about opportunities that would likely never be within her reach. "I'm sorry," he said. "You're right. I don't understand all the challenges you faced." Olivia was surprised by his honesty. Most wealthy people she'd met always insisted success was just a matter of effort, ignoring the advantages they'd had. "Thank you for admitting that," she said. "Most people can't." They had dinner together that night, talking about books and discovering they had similar tastes. Michael was impressed by Olivia's intelligence and knowledge, while she began to see him as more complex than she'd first thought. In the days that followed, they settled into a comfortable routine. Olivia worked in the house during the day, organizing rooms, tending to the garden, preparing meals. Michael would come home from work in the evening, and they would have dinner together, talking about their days. Slowly, Olivia began to feel human again. The constant fear of where she would sleep or what she would eat had faded, replaced by a sense of security she hadn't experienced in months. But life isn't a fairy tale, and reality soon intruded on her temporary peace. One morning, as Olivia was tending to the rose bushes in the front garden, a luxury car pulled up to the mansion's entrance. An elegant woman stepped out, her high heels clicking on the stone pavement as she approached. "Who are you?" the woman asked, looking Olivia up and down with clear disapproval. "I'm Olivia, I work here," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Work here?" The woman laughed unpleasantly. "Since when does Michael hire gardeners who dress in the family's clothes?" Olivia glanced down at the blouse she was wearing, one Michael had lent her. She hadn't considered how it might look to others. "Jennifer," Michael's voice came from the doorway. "What are you doing here?" "Just checking in on you, darling," Jennifer said, her tone shifting entirely into something sickly sweet. "And I found this employee wearing clothes that look awfully familiar." Michael stepped closer, and Olivia could see the tension in his face. "Olivia's been helping me with some work around the house," he explained, "and yes, I lent her some clothes." "How interesting," Jennifer said, her eyes glinting with malice. "An employee who lives in the house, wears your clothes, dines at your table. Doesn't seem very professional to me." Olivia felt her face burn with humiliation. She had been naive to think this arrangement wouldn't be misunderstood. "I think you should leave, Jennifer," Michael said firmly. "Oh, I will, but first let me give your employee some advice." Jennifer turned to Olivia. "Men like Michael grow tired of their charity cases quickly. Don't get too comfortable with this life, sweetheart. Soon enough he'll get bored and you'll be back on the streets." Jennifer's words hit Olivia like a punch to the gut. She knew the woman was trying to hurt her, but that didn't make the words any less painful, because there was truth in them. After Jennifer left, Michael approached Olivia, who had gone back to tending the roses with stiff, furious movements. "Ignore what she said," he tried. "Jennifer is complicated." "Who is she to you?" Olivia asked without looking up. Michael hesitated. The truth was, Jennifer was his ex-fiancée, someone who had ended things when she realized he wouldn't become the submissive husband she expected. "Someone from my past," he said finally, who clearly didn't stay in the past. "Olivia, look at me." She finally raised her eyes, and he could see the pain and doubt in them. "What Jennifer said doesn't matter. You're welcome here for as long as you want to stay." "She's right about one thing," Olivia said, standing and wiping her hands on her pants. "This can't last forever. I need to find a real job and rebuild my life." Michael felt a tightness in his chest at the thought of her leaving, but he knew she was right. This situation wasn't sustainable long term. "I'll help you find something," he offered. "I don't want your help getting a job," she said quickly. "That would only prove she was right about me." "Olivia..." "No, Michael. I need to do this on my own. It's the only way I can be sure I've really earned it." That night, Olivia began searching for jobs online on the computer Michael had made available to her. It was discouraging to see how many job openings required experience she didn't have or qualifications she couldn't prove. Michael watched her discreetly, seeing the frustration grow on her face with every rejected or ignored application. He wanted to help, but respected her need for independence. After a week of fruitless searching, Olivia was starting to despair again. Her savings were non-existent, she had no recent professional references, and her living situation was too complicated to explain in interviews. Then, something happened that would change everything. Michael came home one night with a grim expression. Olivia was in the kitchen preparing dinner when she saw him walk in. "Did something happen?" she asked. "Yes," he replied, pouring himself a glass of water. "Today, I found out something about someone I considered a friend." "What did you find out?" Michael hesitated. The truth was that Jennifer had been spreading rumors about him and Olivia through their social circles. According to her, Michael was being manipulated by an opportunist who had infiltrated his home. "Someone is trying to damage my reputation," he finally said. "And yours too." Olivia stopped stirring the food on the stove. "It's because of me, isn't it?" "It's not your fault, Olivia. It's jealousy and malice from people who can't accept that someone can be genuinely kind. Maybe it's better if I leave," she said softly, "before this causes more trouble for you." "No?" His reply came out sharper than he intended. "I won't let spiteful people dictate how I live my life." Olivia turned to look at him, surprised by the vehemence in his voice. "Why is this so important to you?" Michael was silent for a moment, wrestling with feelings he'd been trying to ignore for weeks. "Because you're important to me," he finally admitted. The air in the kitchen seemed to crackle with electricity. Olivia felt her heart race. "Michael, I know our situation is complicated," he continued. "I know people will talk, but these past few weeks you've brought something into my life I didn't even know was missing." "What?" "Real purpose, genuine connection. You remind me why it's worth fighting for something beyond money." Olivia felt tears prick her eyes. She too had felt a special connection with Michael, but had tried to ignore those feelings, convincing herself it was just gratitude. "But we're from different worlds," she whispered. "We are, and that's going to make everything harder. But is it worth trying?" Before she could answer, the phone rang. Michael answered, his expression quickly shifting to concern. "What is it?" Olivia asked when he hung up. "That was my lawyer. Jennifer filed a lawsuit against me, claiming I'm the victim of a scam. She wants the authorities to investigate our situation." Olivia felt the world spin around her. An investigation would mean her entire life would be scrutinized, her humiliating circumstances exposed publicly. "This is my fault," she said, gripping the counter for balance. "No, Olivia, this is the result of her cruelty, not yours." "But she's only doing this because of me. If you weren't here, my life would be much emptier," Michael interrupted, "and I won't let her tear us apart." "Michael, you don't understand. An investigation will reveal everything about me. My financial situation, how we met, the fact that you found me going through your trash. Your reputation will be ruined." Michael stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "My reputation isn't worth more than your dignity, and it's definitely not worth more than what we're building together, but I can't let you suffer because of me. And I can't let you blame yourself for being a victim of a situation you didn't create." That night, they talked late into the night about what to do. Michael wanted to fight back against Jennifer and her accusations, but Olivia was terrified at the idea of having her private life exposed publicly. "Maybe I should talk to her," Olivia suggested. "Explain that I'm not interested in her money." "That won't work," said Michael. "Jennifer isn't interested in the truth. She wants to hurt me because our relationship ended badly." "How did it end?" Michael sighed, recalling unpleasant memories. "Jennifer and I were engaged 2 years ago. She came from a wealthy family and expected me to be a husband who would support her in a life of luxury without question. When she realized I expected an equal partnership, she was furious. What happened? She gave me an ultimatum. Either I accepted the role of the bankroll husband she wanted, or the relationship was over. I chose to end it. And she didn't take it well. She was shocked. No one had ever rejected Jennifer before. Since then, she's tried every way to punish me." Olivia began to understand the situation better. She was just a tool in Jennifer's revenge against Michael. "So I really should leave," she said. "If I'm not here, she won't have ammunition against you." "If you leave, she wins," Michael replied. "And I can't live with that." In the following days, the tension in the house grew significantly. Michael hired a lawyer to handle Jennifer's accusations, but the consequences were already spreading. Acquaintances began avoiding Michael. Social invitations were withdrawn. Even some of his business clients started questioning his suitability to handle their affairs. Olivia watched it all unfold and felt increasingly guilty. She had brought chaos into Michael's orderly life. "I need to leave," she said one morning after seeing Michael end a tense call with an important client. "Let's not argue about this again." "Michael, you lost a client because of me." "I lost a client because he's weak and lets gossip influence him. That says more about him than about us." "But how many more will you lose? How many friends? Where's the limit?" Michael stopped typing emails and looked at her. "The limit is you giving up on us," he said. "That's the only line I can't cross." Olivia felt her heart break. She was falling for Michael. Maybe she already had, but love wasn't enough to overcome the barriers they faced. "What if love isn't enough?" she asked softly. "Then at least we tried," he answered. "At least we fought." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. It was then that Jennifer reappeared, this time accompanied by a man in a suit who introduced himself as a private investigator. "Hello, Michael," Jennifer said with a fake smile. "I just came to check on your domestic situation." "Jennifer, you have no right to be here with an investigator," Michael said, stepping between her and Olivia. "Actually, I do," she replied, producing some documents. "I obtained a court order to investigate possible financial fraud." The investigator stepped forward. "Mr. Anderson, we need to ask you a few questions about your financial situation and the woman living in your home." Olivia felt her legs go weak. This was exactly what she had feared. "I don't have to answer anything without my lawyer present," Michael said. "Of course, you can wait for your lawyer," the investigator replied. "But the investigation will proceed either way." Jennifer smiled triumphantly. "I'm sure that once they find out how this woman infiltrated your life, you'll see the truth about her." "The only truth I see is a bitter person trying to destroy others' happiness," Michael replied. "Michael, please," whispered Olivia. "Let me talk to them." "No, Olivia. You don't owe anyone an explanation." But Olivia knew staying silent would only make things worse. She turned to the investigator. "What do you want to know?" "How did you meet Mr. Anderson?" Olivia took a deep breath, steeling herself for the humiliation. "I was looking for food in his trash when he found me." Jennifer laughed loudly. "Looking for food in the trash? Did you hear that? A beggar turned housemate." "Why were you searching through the trash?" the investigator continued. "Because I had no money to buy food. I'd lost my job and my home." "And Mr. Anderson just decided to help you?" "Yes," Michael answered firmly. "Because that's what decent people do when they see someone in need." "Or because she was young and pretty and knew exactly how to manipulate your emotions," Jennifer interrupted. "Enough," Michael snapped. "Get out of my house now." "Let's go," the investigator said calmly, "but this isn't over. We'll need more financial records and witness statements." After they left, Olivia collapsed into a chair, trembling. "It's over," she said. "Everything's over." "It's not over," Michael insisted. "We'll fight this." "Michael, you heard what they said. They'll investigate everything. Your finances, our relationship, people who know me. They'll find out about my eviction, my debts, how I really got here. Your reputation will be ruined." "My reputation means nothing if I lose you." "But it means everything to your business, your relationships, your entire life." Michael knelt in front of her chair. "Olivia, look at me," he said, holding her hands. "I fell in love with you, not for what you have or don't have, not for your financial situation, but for who you are, for your strength, your dignity, your kindness, even when the world was cruel to you." Tears streamed down Olivia's face. "I fell in love with you too," she whispered, "but that makes everything harder, not easier." "Why?" "Because now I know you're willing to sacrifice everything for me, and I can't let you do that." Michael's heart clenched. He could see the resolve forming in her expression. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm leaving. Today." "Olivia, no. It's the only way to protect you. If I'm not here, Jennifer won't have any reason to keep pushing this investigation. And what if she does anyway? At least you can honestly say you sent me away once you found out who I really was." Michael stood, running his hands through his hair in frustration. "This is ridiculous. You're not responsible for her malice. But I am responsible for the consequences of my presence in your life." They argued for hours, but Olivia was determined. She wouldn't let Michael ruin his life for her. The next morning, she packed her bags quietly. Michael had left early for a business meeting he couldn't cancel, and she used his absence to slip away. She left a letter on the bed where she'd been so happy, explaining her reasons and asking him not to look for her. Then she walked out of the mansion that had been her refuge, back to the cruel streets she knew too well. Michael returned home that night and found the letter. His hands shook as he read Olivia's goodbye. She'd left to protect him, but all he felt was a vast emptiness where she used to be. During the following weeks, Michael tried to find her. He searched shelters, talked to people on the streets, even hired a private investigator. But Olivia had completely vanished. Meanwhile, Jennifer continued her smear campaign, but without Olivia present, her accusations lost steam. The investigation was eventually closed due to lack of evidence, but the damage to Michael's social life was already done. He discovered who his true friends were during that difficult time. Many abandoned him at the first sign of scandal, but a few remained loyal, including his sister Rachel, who cut her trip short when she heard about his troubles. "You're an idiot," Rachel said when he told her the whole story. "You found an amazing woman and let your poisonous ex-fiancé scare her away." "I didn't let her. She chose to leave. To protect you. That shows the kind of person she is, and you let her go to protect your reputation with people who aren't worth a damn." Michael knew his sister was right, but he also knew Olivia had made her decision for valid reasons. The gap between their worlds really did create obstacles that weren't easy to overcome. Meanwhile, Olivia was struggling to survive again. She had landed a temporary job at a small cafe downtown, but her wages barely covered the tiny room she shared with two other women. Memories of her time at the mansion haunted her. Not just the physical comfort she'd lost, but mostly the emotional connection with Michael. She had tasted what it meant to be truly loved and accepted, and now everything else seemed grey in comparison. But she persisted, determined to rebuild her life on her own. During the day, she worked at the cafe. At night, she studied for civil service exams, hoping to secure something more stable. It was during one of those late-night study sessions that she learned Michael was looking for her. "There's some rich guy asking about you," said Ashley, one of her roommates. "Blonde, handsome, driving an expensive car." Olivia's heart raced, but she forced her voice to stay calm. "What did you tell him?" "That I'd never heard of any Olivia, thought he might be a violent ex or something." Olivia was grateful for the protection, even if it was based on a misunderstanding. She wasn't ready to face Michael yet. Maybe she never would be. But fate had other plans. 2 weeks later, while serving coffee during the morning rush, she looked up and met Michael's familiar eyes. He was in line, wearing a dark suit and looking thinner and tired. Their gazes locked for what felt like an eternity. Olivia saw surprise, relief, and something that looked like pain in those eyes she had learned to love. "Hi," he said when it was his turn at the counter. "Hi," she replied, her hands trembling as she held the cup. "Are you okay? I'm surviving." "Olivia, we need to talk." "No," she said quickly. "There's nothing to talk about. I have a lot to say. And I don't want to hear it." Michael glanced around the crowded cafe, realizing it wasn't the place for a private conversation. "At least give me a chance to explain how things turned out after you left." "It doesn't matter how they turned out. I made my decision." A decision based on incomplete information. Olivia handed him his coffee, her hands still shaking. "2.50, she said, trying to keep her voice professional. Michael placed a 20 on the counter. "Keep the change. And Olivia, I'll be here tomorrow at the same time. If you want to talk, I'll be waiting." He left without looking back, leaving Olivia confused and emotionally shaken. The cafe manager noticed her distress. "Everything okay, Olivia?" "Yes," she lied. "Just a difficult customer." But she knew it wouldn't be that simple. Michael had found her, and he wasn't the type to give up easily. That night she barely slept, thinking about his promise to return. Part of her desperately wanted to see him again, to hear his voice, maybe even admit she'd made a mistake by leaving, but the rational part of her mind reminded her of all the reasons she'd gone. The differences between them hadn't disappeared. Society would still judge them. Jennifer was probably still out there waiting for any chance to cause trouble. The next morning, she was nervous throughout her workday, torn between hoping for and dreading Michael's arrival. When he didn't show up at the usual time, she felt a mix of relief and disappointment. Maybe he'd given up. Maybe he'd realized she was right about them being incompatible. But just as her shift was ending, he appeared. This time, he brought a small bouquet of white roses. "For you," he said, placing the flowers on the counter. "Michael, I can't accept these. They're just flowers." A gesture of friendship. Olivia glanced around, noticing some customers and co-workers watching with curiosity. "You're putting me in a difficult position." "That's not my intention. I just want a chance to talk to you." "Why?" she asked, frustrated. "Why can't you just accept that we're over?" "Because we're not," he replied simply. "We were interrupted." Just then, Ashley, Olivia's roommate, walked into the cafe to pick her up. Her eyes widened when she saw Michael. "That's the guy who was looking for you," she whispered as she approached. Michael overheard and gave Olivia a questioning look. "You told your friends I was looking for you." Olivia felt cornered. "I told him I didn't know any Olivia," Ashley cut in, trying to protect her friend. "I thought it might be trouble." Michael understood immediately. "You thought I was some abusive ex or something." "Nothing personal," Ashley said. "Women in Olivia's situation have to be careful." "What situation?" Michael asked, turning to Olivia. Olivia felt humiliated all over again. Ashley didn't know her history with Michael and was inadvertently exposing her vulnerability. "Ashley, can you wait for me outside?" Olivia asked. Once her friend left, Michael leaned over the counter. "Olivia, I know you're struggling to rebuild your life. I know it's hard, and I know it's a matter of pride for you, but that doesn't change how I feel. And how do you feel? That I made the biggest mistake of my life, letting you walk away without fighting harder to keep you. You didn't let me go. I chose to leave. And I should have chased after you that same day. I should have found you and brought you back. For what? To face more humiliation, more scrutiny, more judgment. To fight through it together." Olivia shook her head. "Michael, you don't understand. I love you, but it's not enough. Our worlds are too different. Then let me into yours." "What?" "Let me understand what it's like to live as you do. Let me learn about your struggles, your challenges, your victories. Maybe I won't get it all, but I can try." Olivia was stunned by the offer. "Michael, you don't even know what you're saying." "Then teach me." At that moment, the cafe manager approached. "Olivia, your shift ended 15 minutes ago. If you want to talk to your friend, go ahead, just don't be late tomorrow." Olivia realized she had no choice but to continue the conversation elsewhere. She grabbed her things and walked out with Michael, feeling the curious stares of customers and co-workers. "Where are you staying now?" he asked when they reached the sidewalk. "In a boarding house room," she answered honestly. "I share it with 2 other women. Can I see it?" Olivia laughed bitterly. "You want to see how the poor live? Like a sociological experiment?" "I want to see where you live, because you matter to me," he corrected, not out of curiosity, but as someone who cares about you. Olivia studied his face, searching for signs of condescension or pity. She found neither, only sincerity. "All right," she finally said, "but don't expect much." The room Olivia shared was in an old building in the city centre. The elevator was broken, so they climbed 4 flights of narrow, dimly lit stairs. "Here it is," she said, opening the door to a small room with 3 narrow beds, a shared closet, and a tiny window overlooking an alley. Michael stepped in quietly, taking in the details. Olivia's clothes were neatly folded in a small pile on her bed. Her books, few but well kept, were stacked on the floor beside it. There was no space for anything else. "It's temporary," Olivia said, feeling defensive, "until I can get something better." "It's clean and organized," he observed. "You've managed to make this space feel welcoming." She was surprised by the comment. She had expected pity or shock, not genuine praise. "Michael, why are you here?" He turned to her, his eyes serious and determined. "Because for the past 2 months, since you left, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. Because my house feels empty, my life feels purposeless, and I realize you weren't just someone I was helping. You were someone helping me too." "How was I helping you?" "You reminded me of who I really am. Not the Michael society wants me to be, but the man I choose to be. You gave me perspective on what truly matters in life." Olivia felt her heart race but forced herself to stay rational. "And what happened with Jennifer's investigation? With the rumors? With your reputation?" "The investigation was dropped for lack of evidence. Jennifer lost credibility when it became clear she was acting out of personal revenge. And my reputation, well, I've learned that the opinions of people who judge me without knowing the facts aren't worth much. But you lost clients, friends. I lost people who weren't genuine. But I kept the ones who truly mattered, and I gained a better understanding of what I want from life." "And what do you want?" Michael stepped closer, taking her hands. "I want you. It doesn't matter if it means facing prejudice, adjusting my life, or fighting everyone who doesn't understand." Olivia felt tears welling in her eyes. "Michael, I'm scared." "Of what?" "That I won't be enough for you. That I won't fit into your world. That you'll grow tired of me when the novelty wears off." Michael pulled her closer. "And I'm scared you won't give me a chance to prove none of that matters. I'm scared you'll give up on us before we even try." "But we're so different. And is that a bad thing? You teach me things I'd never learn on my own. About real strength, true dignity, the value of small things. And maybe I can teach you that you deserve more than just survival." At that moment, Ashley walked into the room, stopping abruptly when she saw Michael there. "Sorry," she said. "I didn't know you were—" "No, it's fine," Olivia said quickly. "Ashley, this is Michael. Michael, this is my friend and roommate, Ashley." Michael extended his hand politely. "Nice to meet you." Ashley looked from Michael to Olivia, confused. "So you two know each other?" "It's complicated," Olivia said. "Oh," said Ashley, clearly sensing the tension in the air. "I'll take a shower and let you two talk." After Ashley left, Michael and Olivia sat in silence for a few moments. "Olivia," he finally said, "I know I'm asking a lot. I know it means risking getting hurt again, but don't you think what we have is worth trying?" Olivia looked into his eyes and saw sincerity, hope, and something deeper. She had spent 2 months trying to convince herself she'd made the right decision, but the truth was, she'd felt incomplete ever since leaving him. "If we try again," she said slowly, "it has to be different this time." "How so?" "I can't go back to living in your house as your dependent. I need to have my own life, my own job, my own identity." "I understand. And I can't let you pay my bills or solve my problems. I need to be your equal, not your responsibility." Michael nodded. "I'm willing to respect that. But it means it'll be harder. We'll have to build our relationship while you build your life. Are you willing to do that? To date a woman who works at a cafe and lives in a rented room? I'm willing to date the woman I fell in love with, no matter where she works or where she lives." Olivia took a deep breath. It was a huge leap of faith, but maybe it was time to trust that some good things could actually last. "Okay," she said, "let's try." Michael smiled for the first time in months. Really? Really, but slowly, and with clear rules. What kind of rules? First, you can't try to fix my financial problems. I need to handle that myself. Fine. Second, we can't see each other every day. I need time to work on my life. How much time? Twice a week to start. Michael wanted to protest that it wasn't enough, but he understood she needed space to keep her independence. And third? He asked. Third, if it's clear it's not working, we both have to be honest about it. No holding on to something that has no future. I agree, Michael said, though the idea of having no future with her was too painful to consider seriously. They met for the first time 3 days later at a small restaurant Olivia chose because it was simple but decent. Michael dressed more casually than usual, trying not to draw unnecessary attention. "How was your day?" he asked after they ordered. "Long," Olivia replied. "We had double the usual crowd at the cafe today. And yours?" "Endless meetings," he said. "Nothing too exciting." It was strange being with him again in a neutral setting, without the emotional weight of the mansion or the pressure of her situation. They were trying to know each other in a completely different context. "Michael," she said after the food arrived, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why is it so important to you that this works? I mean, you could have any woman. Why insist on someone who will complicate your life?" Michael paused, choosing his words carefully. "Because most women I've met wanted me for what I have, not who I am. You're the first person who fell in love with me when I had nothing to offer but myself." "What do you mean, nothing to offer?" "That night we met, I was just being a decent human being. I wasn't trying to impress anyone, wasn't using my money or status to win something. It was just Michael helping Olivia, and you fell in love with that Michael." Olivia had never thought of it that way. "And that matters to you?" "It's everything. It means I can trust that you love me for who I really am." They talked for 2 more hours, exploring topics they had never discussed before. Olivia spoke about her dreams of one day having her own bookstore, even if it was small. Michael talked about his desire to use his resources to make a real difference in people's lives. When they said goodbye that night, both felt they had taken an important step towards something new and healthy. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Over the following weeks, they developed a routine, meeting twice a week, always in public places, always paying their own way. Michael respected the rules Olivia had set, even when it was hard not to offer help when she mentioned difficulties. Slowly, Olivia began to trust that Michael truly respected her need for independence. He never tried to solve her problems, never offered money, never suggested she give up fighting to rebuild her life. But life is rarely simple, and new challenges soon arose. One evening, as Olivia was coming home from work, she found Ashley waiting for her with a worried expression. "Olivia, we need to talk," she said. "What happened?" "The landlady raised the rent, a 40% increase starting next month." Olivia felt her stomach tighten. She could barely afford the current amount with her cafe paycheck. "How much will it be?" When Ashley told her the new price, Olivia knew immediately she wouldn't be able to pay. Their third roommate, Sarah, wouldn't be able to either. "What are we going to do?" asked Sarah, who had arrived home in the middle of the conversation. "We'll have to look for another place," Olivia said, trying to stay calm. "Have you seen rental prices in the city?" Ashley replied. "We won't find anything better with what we earn." Olivia spent the whole night awake, running numbers that just didn't add up. She could ask for more hours at the cafe, but they'd already said there was no budget for it. She could look for a second job, but when would she have time to study for civil service exams? 2 days later, when she met Michael, she was visibly stressed. "Did something happen?" he asked. Olivia hesitated. They'd agreed she wouldn't share her financial struggles with him, but maybe she could at least explain why she was so distracted. "Housing problems," she said vaguely. "Do you want to talk about it?" "It's nothing I can't handle." Michael could see she was lying, that something serious was going on, but he respected her request not to get involved. After another week of fruitless searching for housing alternatives, Olivia was starting to despair. Prices in the city had risen beyond what people with her income could afford. It was Sarah who suggested the solution none of them wanted to consider. "What if we went back to our hometowns?" she said one night. "At least life is cheaper there." "But the jobs are worse," Ashley protested. "What jobs? Here we can't even find anything better than what we already have." Olivia knew Sarah was right. Maybe it was time to accept that the big city had no place for people like them. But going back home would mean leaving Michael. It would mean giving up the chance to rebuild something with him. The night before the final deadline to decide about the rent, Olivia finally broke her own rules and told Michael everything. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, clearly frustrated. "Because we agreed I'd handle my own problems." "This isn't just your problem, Olivia. If you leave the city, it affects both of us." "I know, but I don't see any other way." Michael fell silent for a few moments, clearly wrestling with some internal decision. "What if I helped with the rent?" he finally suggested. "Not as charity, but as an investment in our future." "Michael, no, we agreed. We agreed on a lot of things when we didn't know what challenges we'd face," he interrupted. "Sometimes rules need to adapt to circumstances. If you pay my rent, I'll become dependent on you again. And if our relationship doesn't work out, what if you grow tired of me? I'll be worse off than before. And if our relationship does work, what if I don't grow tired of you? Are we going to lose this chance because of rules that are too rigid?" Olivia felt torn. Logically, Michael's offer made sense. Emotionally, it meant admitting she couldn't survive on her own. "I need to think," she said. "How much time do you have?" "Until tomorrow." Michael nodded, respecting her need to make the decision alone. Olivia spent another sleepless night weighing her options. Accepting Michael's help meant compromising her independence, but refusing might mean losing the chance to build something meaningful with him. The next morning, she made a decision that surprised even herself. Instead of accepting or refusing Michael's help, she made a counteroffer. "What if I moved back in with you?" she said when they met, "but this time as your girlfriend, not your dependent." Michael was taken aback. "What do you mean?" "I'd live in your house but pay a share of the expenses proportional to my income. I'd contribute to household chores. I'd have my own space and my own life. It would be a real partnership, not a dependency." Michael considered the proposal. "Are you sure?" "I don't want this to be out of necessity, but by choice." "It is by choice," she said. "I choose to be with you. I choose to build something together. I choose to trust that you won't make me feel inferior for earning less." "And if it doesn't work?" "Then at least we tried for real, as equals." Michael smiled. "So it's a yes?" "It's a yes." This time, when Olivia moved into Michael's mansion, it was completely different. She had her own job, her own income, her own responsibilities. They split household chores. She insisted on paying a percentage of the bills, and they set clear rules about personal space and alone time. At first, it was a tough adjustment. Michael was used to having total control over his home and routine. Olivia was used to living in tiny spaces and barely scraping by. But slowly they found a balance. Michael learned to value Olivia's perspectives and opinions on household decisions. Olivia learned to accept that she could enjoy some comforts without losing her independence. 3 months after moving back in together, they faced their first real test. Jennifer reappeared, this time with a new strategy. Instead of legal accusations, she launched a subtle campaign of social sabotage. She spread carefully crafted rumors about Olivia, questioning her motives and her past. "I heard she has a history of taking advantage of generous men," Jennifer told a group of acquaintances at a social event. "Michael isn't the first she's manipulated with this poor little me act." The rumors reached Michael through his sister Rachel. "You should know what they're saying about Olivia," Rachel said over lunch. When Michael told Olivia about the new rumors, she was devastated. "She's never going to stop, is she?" Olivia said, sinking into a chair. "Apparently not," Michael admitted. "But this time, we're prepared." "Prepared how?" "This time we won't hide. We'll confront the rumors head on." "Michael, this is going to be humiliating." "She's going to expose my entire past. She'll She'll expose the life of a courageous woman who faced hardships and rebuilt herself, he interrupted. And I'll be by her side to make sure everyone knows it. Olivia looked at him, seeing determination where she expected hesitation. Are you sure? This will affect your social life, your business. My social life is worth very little if I can't share it with the person I love, and my business is built on my integrity, not gossipers' opinions. Michael organized an event at his home, inviting all his acquaintances, including those who had distanced themselves during the first scandal. Olivia was nervous all week before the event. What if no one comes? She asked. Then we'll know who our true friends are, Michael replied. And if they come just to humiliate me? Then we'll know who our enemies are, and we can act accordingly. On the night of the event, Olivia dressed carefully, choosing a simple yet elegant dress she had bought with her own money. Michael wore a dark suit and had a confident expression she envied. Ready? He asked, offering his arm. No, she answered honestly, but we're doing it anyway. The first guests to arrive were Rachel and her husband, who greeted Olivia warmly. Next came some of Michael's business associates, who were polite but reserved. Jennifer arrived in the middle of the party, accompanied by two friends. She was clearly hoping to stir discomfort with her presence. Michael, darling, she said, kissing his cheek. What a lovely party. And Olivia, you look different. Different how? Olivia asked, determined not to be intimidated. More settled. It's impressive how quickly some people adapt to new situations. The comment was clearly meant to imply Olivia had taken advantage of Michael, but this time, Olivia was prepared. It's true, she said calmly. I've learned that when you find something truly valuable in life, it's worth fighting to protect. How lovely, Jennifer said with a fake smile. And Michael, you must be very satisfied with your decision. I'm happier than I've been in years, Michael replied firmly. Olivia has brought purpose and joy into my life in ways I didn't even know were possible. Jennifer realized her strategy wasn't working as planned. Michael wasn't ashamed of Olivia, and Olivia wasn't hiding or desperately defending herself. Well, Jennifer said, her mask of politeness slipping, at least I hope you've made a solid prenup. The remark was so openly malicious, it caused an uncomfortable silence among the nearby guests. Jennifer, Michael said coldly, I think you've said enough. Just showing concern for an old friend. Your concern is unnecessary, Olivia said, finding courage she didn't know she had. And your comments are out of line. Oh, so the kitten has claws, Jennifer sneered, dropping all pretense of civility. Enough, Michael said, stepping between Jennifer and Olivia. Either behave properly or leave my home. Don't worry, Jennifer said, grabbing her purse. I have no interest in staying where I'm clearly unwelcome. After Jennifer left, the tension at the party noticeably eased. Several guests approached Michael and Olivia to express support and disapproval of Jennifer's behavior. I always found her unpleasant, said one of Michael's colleagues' wives. You're much better off without her. Olivia seems like a lovely person, another remarked. Jennifer is clearly jealous. By the end of the night, Olivia felt exhausted, but victorious. They had faced the gossip and malice head-on and emerged stronger. How are you feeling? Michael asked as they cleaned up the remnants of the party. Tired, she admitted, but also relieved. I think I finally understood something. What? That I can't live my life trying to prove I'm worthy of someone's love. If someone can't see my value, that's their problem, not mine. Michael smiled, seeing the newfound confidence in her eyes. Does that mean you're finally ready to believe you deserve to be loved? I'm learning, she said. It's a process. In the months that followed, Michael and Olivia's lives settled into a stability neither had experienced before. They found a rhythm that respected both Olivia's need for independence and Michael's desire to share his life with someone special. Olivia was promoted at the cafe and began working as a private event planner, a skill she'd developed while helping Michael. Inspired by Olivia's perspective, Michael began directing more of his company's resources towards social responsibility projects. But the ultimate test of their relationship was yet to come. A year after moving back in together, Michael received a business proposal that would change their lives completely. An international company wanted to buy his business for a sum that would make him even wealthier, but required him to relocate to another country for a few years. "It's an incredible opportunity," he told Olivia the night he received the offer, "but it means leaving everything here, including me," she asked. "Not necessarily. You could come with me." Olivia felt her world tilt. Moving abroad would mean leaving behind the small business she was building, the friends she'd made, the independent life she'd fought so hard to create. "Michael, I can't just abandon everything I've built to follow you. And I can't pass up an opportunity like this." They spent weeks discussing their options. Michael tried to find ways to decline the offer or modify the terms. Olivia tried to imagine how she could rebuild her life in another country. "What if we got engaged before you decide?" Michael suggested one evening. "What? If we're serious about our future together, maybe it's time to make it official. Maybe that'll make the decision clearer." Olivia was silent for a moment. "Michael, are you asking me to marry you?" "I'm asking if you'd consider marrying me," he corrected. "If the answer's yes, we can face this decision as a real team. If it's no, at least we'll know where we stand." It was the moment Olivia had both longed for and feared. She loved Michael deeply, but marriage meant a level of commitment that still scared her. "I need to think," she said. For the next 3 days, Olivia agonized over the decision. Marrying Michael would mean security, love, a comfortable life, but it would also mean always being seen as the poor woman who married the rich man. It was Rachel, Michael's sister, who helped her see things differently. "Do you know the difference between you and Jennifer?" Rachel asked over coffee. "Jennifer comes from money and I don't." "No. The difference is, you make my brother want to be a better person, and Jennifer made him want to be someone else. With you, he's the best version of himself. But people will always think I married him for the money. Some people will always think that, no matter what you do. The question is, will you let strangers' opinions dictate your happiness?" That night, Olivia gave Michael her answer. "Yes," she said, "I want to marry you." "Really?" Michael looked genuinely surprised and happy. "Really, but with conditions." "What conditions?" "First, if we move to another country, you help me establish my own business there. I don't want to be just your wife. I want to have my own professional identity." "I agree." "Second, we set up a prenuptial agreement that makes it clear I'm not marrying for financial gain." Michael started to protest, but she interrupted him. "It's non-negotiable. It's important to me that everyone knows our union is about love, not convenience." "All right," he agreed. "And third?" "Third, we promise to always be honest with each other about our feelings, fears, and needs. No pretending everything's fine when it's not." "That I can promise," said Michael, pulling her into a hug. The official proposal happened a week later, during a simple dinner at home. Michael had planned something elaborate, but Olivia asked for something intimate and personal. "Olivia," he said, kneeling beside her chair, "you taught me that true love isn't about saving someone or being saved. It's about choosing to build a life together, day after day, challenge after challenge." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "Will you marry me and face whatever the future brings side by side?" "Yes," she said, tears streaming freely down her face. The ring was simple but elegant, exactly the kind she would have chosen for herself. Michael had paid attention to her tastes throughout their time together. They decided to accept the international offer and marry before the move. The ceremony would be small, with only close family and true friends. But Jennifer had other plans. 2 weeks before the wedding, she showed up at Michael's doorstep with an unexpected offer. "I came to offer a truce," she said when Michael answered the door. "Jennifer, Olivia, and I are busy with wedding preparations. We don't have time for games." "It's not games, it's a serious proposal." Olivia appeared behind Michael, curious about the unexpected visitor. "What do you want, Jennifer?" she asked directly. "I want to make amends," said Jennifer. "I know I behaved poorly and I want to fix that before you two get married." Michael and Olivia exchanged skeptical glances. "Why now?" asked Michael. Because I realized I was being cruel for selfish reasons, and because I found out something you need to know." "What did you find out?" asked Olivia, immediately suspicious. Jennifer pulled a folder from her car. "Information about the company that wants to buy Michael's business. They're not who they claim to be." Michael took the folder and began examining the documents. His expression gradually shifted from skepticism to concern. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "I have my sources," Jennifer said vaguely. "The important thing is the company has a history of buying businesses, transferring all assets abroad, and then declaring bankruptcy, leaving the former owners with nothing." Olivia peered over Michael's shoulder as he read. "Why are you telling us this?" she asked. "Because as much as I dislike you," Jennifer said honestly, "I don't want to see Michael get robbed." Michael kept reading, his worry growing with each page. "If this is true," he said, "I could lose everything. The company, my home, my savings." "It's true," said Jennifer. "I checked 3 times. Olivia felt her world tilt again. If Michael lost everything, they'd be in the same financial situation. No lavish wedding, no international move, no comfortable life. "Michael," she said calmly, "we need to cancel the sale." "That means losing the international opportunity," he said. "It means staying here and continuing with what we have." "And is that a problem for you?" Michael looked at her, seeing concern but no panic in her eyes. "Is it a problem for you?" he asked. "It means we won't have the life we planned." "It means we'll have a different life," she corrected. "As long as we have it together, I can handle anything." Jennifer watched the interaction with an unreadable expression. "You two really love each other, don't you?" she said with what seemed like surprise. "Yes," Michael and Olivia answered at the same time. Jennifer was silent for a few moments. "I spent 2 years trying to keep you apart," she finally said. "And you only grew stronger." "Jennifer," Olivia said, "why did you really bring us this information?" Jennifer sighed. "Because I realized I was wasting my life trying to destroy your happiness instead of building my own." She turned to leave, then stopped. "Olivia," she said, "I'm sorry for everything." "Jennifer," Olivia called. "Yes?" "Thank you for warning us about the company. It means a lot." Jennifer nodded and walked away, leaving Michael and Olivia alone to process what had happened. "Do you believe her?" Olivia asked. "The documents seem genuine," Michael said, "and it makes sense. The offer was too good to be true. So what do we do now?" Michael pulled Olivia into his arms. "Now we stick to our original plans. We get married in 2 weeks and build our life here, together. What about the international opportunity? There will be other opportunities, but there's only one you." The wedding went as planned, a small but beautiful ceremony in the mansion's garden. Olivia wore a simple dress she had chosen and paid for herself. Michael wore the same suit he had worn on their first official date after she left home. Among the guests were Ashley and Sarah, Olivia's former roommates, Rachel and her family, some of Michael's true friends, and even a few co-workers from the cafe where Olivia had worked. During the ceremony, when it came time for the vows, Olivia spoke from the heart. "Michael, you found me at my lowest point and offered me not just help, but respect. You taught me that being vulnerable doesn't mean being weak, and that accepting love doesn't mean losing independence. I promise to be your partner in every sense of the word, in good times and hard times, in wealth and in poverty, in equality and in love." Michael responded, "Olivia, you taught me that true wealth isn't what you have, but who you choose to love and who chooses to love you. You brought purpose and meaning to my life in ways I didn't even know were possible. I promise to be your partner, your support, and your companion, always respecting your strength and independence, always valuing your unique perspective, always choosing to build our future together." When the officiant declared them husband and wife, the small gathering applauded with emotion. The reception was simple but joyful, with food prepared by a small local restaurant Olivia had suggested. There was no room for showiness or superficiality, just a genuine celebration of true love. During the party, Rachel approached Olivia. "Welcome to the family," she said, hugging her new sister-in-law. My brother has never been happier. Neither have I, Olivia replied. Thank you for accepting me from the start. It was easy to accept you. You're exactly what Michael needed, even when he didn't know it. As the evening wore on, Michael and Olivia found themselves alone in the garden where it had all begun, near the trash bin where she had searched for food so many months ago. Do you regret anything? Michael asked. Rummaging through your trash? She teased. Anything? Olivia considered the question seriously. I don't regret the hardships I went through, she said finally. They brought me to you and taught me my own strength. I don't regret being cautious in the beginning. It was necessary, and I definitely don't regret falling in love with you. Even knowing our life won't be the fantasy some people imagine? Especially knowing that, real life is better than fantasy because it's ours, built by us, day by day. Michael kissed her under the stars, in the garden where they had first met, surrounded by the love they had built together against all odds. 2 years later, Michael and Olivia opened a small bookstore in the heart of the city. It was a joint project. He provided the initial capital, and she brought the experience and passion for books. The bookstore quickly became a gathering place for the local community, offering not just books, but also cultural events and educational activities. Olivia fulfilled her dream of having her own business, though in a way she had never imagined, when she was just struggling to survive. Michael found a way to use his resources to make a real difference in people's lives. They faced challenges, of course, differences in opinion on how to run the business, moments of financial strain as the bookstore was getting established, occasional social pressures from people who still questioned their union. But every challenge they overcame together made them stronger as a couple and as business partners. On a Sunday afternoon, 3 years after their marriage, Olivia was organizing a new book section when Michael approached her with a serious expression. "We need to talk," he said. Olivia felt a pang of worry. "Did something happen?" "I got an interesting call today." "From who?" "The company that tried to buy my business a few years ago. The one Jennifer exposed as fraudulent." Olivia stopped arranging the books. "What did they want?" "Apparently, they've been exposed and sued in several countries. They wanted to thank me for not falling for their scam and offer me a real opportunity this time." "What kind of opportunity?" "A legitimate international partnership, verified by 3 different law firms, but it would still mean moving to another country for a few years." Olivia felt the familiar knot in her stomach. They had built a good life there. The bookstore was thriving. They had true friends, a routine that worked for both of them. "And you want to accept?" she asked. "I want us to decide together. It's a real opportunity this time, but it's only worth it if we can do it together." Olivia looked around at the bookstore they had built together, thinking of everything they'd have to leave behind. "What about the bookstore?" "We could leave it in the hands of a trusted manager, or sell it to someone who'll keep it as it is, or even open a branch abroad. You've already thought of everything, haven't you?" "I've thought about the possibilities, but the decision is ours." Olivia took a deep breath. "If we stay, will you regret missing this opportunity? If we go, will you regret leaving the life we've built here?" They looked at each other for a moment, each seeing their own concerns reflected in the other's eyes. "I think the real question is," Olivia finally said, "are we ready for a new adventure together? Now we're talking about adventure, not security. I've learned that adventure and security aren't opposites when you have the right person beside you." Michael smiled. "So that's a yes." "It's a let's find out together," she corrected, which is even better than a yes. 6 months later, Michael and Olivia were on a plane to London, where Michael would establish the European branch of his company, and Olivia would explore opportunities to expand the concept of their community bookstore. But that's a story for another day. For now, as the plane took off, Olivia held Michael's hand and thought about how much her life had changed since that night when she had been found rummaging through trash for food. She had gone in search of sustenance and found love. She had gone in search of survival and found a fulfilling life. Most importantly, she had learned that her worth did not depend on her financial situation, and that true love wasn't about being saved or saving someone else, but about choosing to build something beautiful together. "What are you thinking about?" Michael asked, noticing her thoughtful smile. "I'm thinking that sometimes the best things in life begin in the most unlikely moments. Like digging through trash, like finding someone willing to look beyond appearances." Michael squeezed her hand. "Thank you for giving me the chance to prove I could see beyond appearances. Thank you for giving me the chance to prove I was more than my temporary situation." They flew toward their future together, carrying the lessons learned in the hardest moments, the strength built through the challenges they'd overcome, and the confidence that they could face anything as long as they had each other. The end. Now tell us what you thought of Michael and Olivia's story. Where are you watching from? Do you think they made the right decisions? Leave your honest thoughts about this journey of love and resilience in the comments. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.